Welcome everyone, my name's Dom, and I recently did my incomplete review on the iPhone 13 Pro, and that video was exactly that, incomplete. Especially because at the time of making that video, this one, the iPhone 13 Pro has yet to receive one of its biggest features that Apple mentioned when they announced this phone back in September, which is ProRes video. What the f is ProRes video anyway? Why are some people making a big deal over it, and why should you care? Why would anyone want to take up almost 6 gigabytes per minute of storage on their phone by recording in ProRes? And the short answer is video editing, but it's a little more complicated than that. In this video, we are going to be taking a look into Apple ProRes and video compression and encoding as a whole. And at the end, I'll be doing a little tutorial on how you can start using ProRes today for your video editing needs. So let's get into it. Who's behind the mouse? Okay, so let's start kind of simple, right? So I'm sure a fair amount of you out there already know that video is nothing more than a sequence of pictures being shown one after another in rapid succession, right? So each one of these images is called a frame. And when you flip through them really, really fast, like you would in like a flip book or something, you can create this sensation of motion. The rate at which these frames are played back on your screen is called the video's frame rate. And pretty much all displays going back to like televisions back in the day when they were first invented, and even before that, had a frame rate. Your monitor, phone, video game, like everything is basically just that. It is nothing more than a sequence of pictures, a sequence of frames that are playing back and back along with an audio track that's tied to it. Now, if we go back to the complete explanation video I did a while back on lossless audio, we talk a little bit about compression. And just like audio, pictures can be compressed as well. The compression method used to make pictures smaller is called our format, and includes things like, JPEGs and PNGs and bitmaps, etc. These formats can make the file size of our picture smaller. But just like with audio, some formats will cause the picture to lose some detail and some quality, and therefore is considered a lossy compression format. Since videos are nothing more than a bunch of pictures, we can use some of these types of compressions for each of our frame and make the video smaller. And in this case, these particular types of frames are called keyframes or iframes for something called intraframe compression, and contain the whole frame, all of the data within the file. But something interesting to note with video compression is that we can actually get our file size even smaller by doing some other tricks in the process. These tricks include something called predictive frames or P-frames, where there are sets of frames that only contain the changes between frames. This is easy to do because more often than not, video frames contain like mostly the same stuff between frames along like large areas of the frame. And so by keeping just the pixels that change, we can achieve even smaller file sizes. And these types of compressions have names too, like H.264, HEVC, MPEG, and ProRes, kind of. So I'm doing this one a little off script, right? So you see my hand is here, right? If you look at the background, you can see that all this stuff stays static. And the only thing that's ever really changing is my hand. I'm looking at the thing here. So you can see here that in these particular frames, these sequences of frames, what is being recorded on these P frames is just how these pixels that my hand traverses change. This is why you'll often see videos that have like weird effects where, the thing that moves causes like, stuff to suddenly become like fragmented and weird. The purpose of any of these formats though is to make the video file size as small as possible with as little loss to visual quality as possible. We can more or less control the quality loss of our, file size and our, video quality by messing with numerous parameters for the compression, but a lot of it comes down to our bit rate. Just like audio compression, we have so many bits per second, and these bits represent our P frames and our iframes. More bits means more data available to keep track of changes between frames, and more data for iframes, which is the entire frame, causing less loss in visual quality, but leads to a bigger file size. Many of the videos you watch try to achieve the right balance of compression to visual quality, so they can be sent to your device as fast as possible, but still look nice. ProRes, however, is a little different. ProRes says that and focuses more on just maintaining as much of the original quality of the video as possible, which, as you may have guessed, causes massive file sizes. That's not to say that there isn't some compression going on, but the priority of ProRes is to maintain the original quality of the footage, which is great for video editing because you have much more control over color grading and other elements of the video. It also uses only iframes, which adds to the ability to maintain this kind of quality because every single frame is the entire frame. There's no predictive frames here. This also comes with the added benefit of it being much easier for your video editing software to work with because the CPU requirements are much smaller for these types of frames and thus easier to render each frame. This is because when a video file is compressed with the smallest file size possible in mind, this requires more computing power as not all the information of what the final rendered frame will look like is available, and so decoding that file will take a little bit more work. If you've ever edited a video before in something like Adobe Premiere and noticed hitching and stuttering, along the scrubbing line, when you're working with a video file you might have grabbed right off your memory card from your camera or off your phone, this is probably one of the reasons. Your computer is having to to work harder on those frames, on rendering and decoding those frames, which can be played, forwards, backwards, zoomed in on, rotated, paused, and all of those different things that you can do at a moment's notice. ProRes encoding contains much more of the original information for each frame, and so less work is needed. I want to do a small series of videos on how to kind of optimize maybe some of your video editing workflow, or some, more information on how to better work with video as a whole. So if you're interested, definitely get yourself subscribed. So now we can answer the question, why would someone shoot directly to ProRes? Well, the reasons include less loss of quality from the original source material, as the focus is on preserving as much of the original detail of each frame as possible. And there's also the added benefit of not having to waste time encoding the video from whatever you captured it in to ProRes later for editing, which can take a really, really long time. Though with the iPhone 13 Pro, the time saved from not having to encode footage, it actually may be lost without the faster USB speeds, which is why I kind of made a bigger deal out of it, because taking some of the footage off of the iPhone 13 Pro, especially not having a USB-C, like some of these files are going to be massive. And so the slow transfer speed of USB 2.0 speeds that come on the iPhone might actually just mitigate that perk. But, we'll have to see when we finally get the feature. Now, I know I'm oversimplifying a lot here. There's so much more to video encoding and compression that I don't have time to cover in this video, but I will probably continue to do this, continue on with this series in the complete explanation. So if you're interested in more, definitely get yourself subscribed. And so for those of you who have stuck around long enough to see how you can start using ProRes today, I actually did a complete tips video where I walk through all of the basics and all the stuff that I do when editing my videos and working with ProRes, and we can help improve your workflow today. Because I promise you, if you start using ProRes, you've never used it before, you will be surprised at how much easier it can simplify your process. So I will include the links over here and down in the description and probably in a pinned comment. So definitely go check that out if you're interested in more information on how you can start using this format today. And that wraps up this complete explanation, everyone. If you have any questions for me on ProRes or video compression as a whole, or just want to tell me something I got wrong, let me know down in the comments below. Please consider hitting the like button if you enjoyed this video. And I say this all the time, please consider sharing the video. It helps the channel out a lot. And as always, talk to you soon.